Okay.
Kremlin connection, right? So again, more and more
Did they connect?
offers.
Do we have evidence that he talked to Putin?
I don't believe that they connected. But
so
again,
where's the smoke? Where's the evidence? I mean, I know all this stuff. But where's the evidence?
Well, first, Tucker, don't confuse evidence with a conclusion. Evidence gives the FBI and the Department of Justice.
Look, I've been going through this for a year. Look, I watched Rachel Maddow. I get it. I know there are a lot of Russians and Russian people and emails, but where's the actual proof that something happened after more than a year of this?
Well, I'm not the prosecutor. I don't have subpoena power. Bob Mueller does. All I'm saying is
you do have a high-level security clearance, and you're on the Intel committee, so presumably you'd have more than a clip of him at a
I'm only giving you the evidence that I've seen in an unclassified manner. So I'm telling you that all of that warrants looking at whether we could prove beyond a reasonable doubt conspiracy to defraud the United States. Those are the crimes.
Aren't we working on that? I mean, we've been working on that for a long time.
Well, not with the obstruction that we continue to see. The continued undermining, the trying to...
So that's it? That's all you got?
No.
Okay, so what's the part I haven't heard? Tell me. I'm waiting. Because I want to... Look, if he's...
It's right in front of your nose, Tucker.
Tell me what it is.
It's right in front of your
nose. Is it another press
conference
conference he gave with more secret messages, or tell me?
Again, Tucker, when we look back on this in 25 years, we're going to be amazed at how much of it was right in front of us. So, they're hacking...
We're all speaking Chinese at that point. And we're like, people thought Russia was the threat. Isn't that weird?
There's approaches. They never turn down any of the approaches. The candidate makes an invitation in broad daylight, as you said. They continue to try and arrange meetings through the summer. And then you start to have what I call, if there's a quid pro quo, there has to be a quo, right? If there's a transaction that's taking place, you start to, of course, there's the candidate's positive, favorable statements about Putin, even if those are just, as you said, so we have a better relationship with Russia. How do you explain the national security advisor, the incoming national security advisor, Michael Flynn, who had been over to Russia just a year before, telling the Russians, don't worry about the Barack Obama imposed sanctions? How do you explain that?
I would explain it this way.
How do you explain bringing the Russians into the Oval Office, giving them national security secrets?
Here's what I would hope, that we would stop with the sanctions on Russia. I think they're counterproductive. But the Trump administration has done just the opposite. So we spent Javelin missiles to the Ukrainian rebels. We've opened up domestic oil production here, which hurts them, and gas production. We have killed over 200 Russians in Syria. We have bombed the government of Bashar al-Assad, which is their closest ally outside their borders. In what sense has he been pro-Russia as president? And I say this with sadness, because I don't think he should be doing any of that.
Yeah, well, all the favorable things that he says, bringing Russians into the Oval Office, kicking out Americans, letting Russian press...
Could we just be reality-based really quick?
And failure to impose the congressionally passed sanctions. You know how hard we had to work, the public sentiment that was...
What about killing the 200 Russians? He's been
Did he kill them?
He sent the U.S. military
I think you're giving him too much credit.
Well, I don't know. Look, I'm not flacking for Trump. I don't think he should have done it. I criticized him on the show.
You're absolutely right.
I'm just telling you, he's killed 200 Russians. Obama did not do that. He sent missiles to Ukrainian rebels. Obama did not do that. He is competing in energy with them in a way Obama never tried. Why is he more pro-Russian than Obama was?
Don't confuse what he has to do because the public sentiment is so high and watching him. Again, you give him too much credit. You're giving him too much credit.
I'm not giving him credit. I'm criticizing him. I don't think he should be doing any of it. I'm just saying this whole thing is insane. That's what I'm saying.
So,
let me ask you, I'm a little confused. So you're the protector of Stormy Daniels. Stormy Daniels is right now working in strip clubs in little towns on stage. People are throwing things at her. You're wearing a $1,000 suit. Why are you not paying her? You've profited from Stormy Daniels. You've done tens of millions of dollars worth of free media on the basis of your relationship with her, and she's working in strip clubs. You're exploiting her, and you know that. Why aren't you paying her some of what you're making?
Sir, this is absurd.
It's not absurd. Those are the facts.
No, you don't know the facts, as evidenced by the fact that
you don't even know. Is she working in strip clubs?
Are you going to continue to interrupt me, or are you going to let me finish?
I do know the facts, actually.
No, you don't, because you just demonstrated your ignorance, because you didn't even know Michael Cohen pled to 2 felonies associated with the campaign finance violations.
I don't believe that what Cohen did, and I'm not defending Cohen, I never have, was a campaign finance violation. I think it's absurd. I think it's absurd.
He pled guilty to 2 felonies.
Okay, so everyone who pleads, look, this is a stupid, we have an honest disagreement. I don't think it was a campaign finance violation. Stormy Daniels was to perform in Richmond in a depressing strip club. This hero that you say you're protecting, you're her protector. Why is she working in seedy strip clubs while you're on television wearing expensive suits? Why are you not exploiting her? Why is she doing that?
Because she wants to, Tucker.
And she wants to. This is America.
This is America. And guess what? If a woman wants to perform in a strip club, she does so.
But you're getting rich.
Even though people, I'm not getting rich. Even though people like you demean her,
I'm not demeaning
and call her.
You're the one who's profiting.
You're the one that refers to her consistently as a porn star, and as to me as a creepy porn lawyer. And meanwhile, you give the president. Meanwhile, you give the president a pass who had unprotected sex with the porn star with a 4-month-old son at home.
Well, you are a moralizer for a guy who does what you do.
No,
but you are, though. You are a little moralizer. You're like, we're in church now with a 4-month-old son. Okay, I'm officially shocked by Donald Trump's behavior. I had no idea. It blew my mind. But answer my question. Why are you rich and your client is working in seedy strip clubs?
Sir, do you have any idea how much money I've earned for
You're on every cable show. You're running for president now.
You have no idea.
Well, I know that you haven't paid your taxes because you've got over $1 million worth of...
ridiculous. You don't even know your facts.
It's not true that you don't even know over $1 million
you don't even know your
in
facts, Tucker.
Look, I'm just saying, why is she still...
How do you have a show and you're this ignorant? How is that
Here's
possible?
what I know for a fact is that your client is not thriving. And for you to look at me in the eye and say she wants to perform in strip clubs with people throwing stuff at her is insulting to her. People don't do that unless they have no choice, or she just likes it. Is that what you're saying?
Tucker, now you're the defender of my client. You don't know anything about
pathetic. You're exploiting her.
You don't know anything about my client. Exploiting my client.
I know that she's working in a strip club in Richmond.
Let me finish. Can I finish?
Please do.
All right. I've done a remarkable job for my client, and she'll be the first one to tell you that. And had you listened to any of her interviews or seen any of her comments, you would know exactly what she thinks of me. I'm not done. I am not exploiting my client. I'm representing my client to the absolute.
So when she wants to get your legal advice, does she have to pretend to be a booker from CNN to get through to you?
You know, that's disgusting. Why don't you show
What's
some
disgusting
respect?
is
why don't you show some
thriving
respect to my client and me and stop calling us a porn star and a creepy porn lawyer? If you've got that big a problem with porn, do you have that big a problem with porn?
I'm not making fun of.
When's the last time?
Slow
When's the last time you saw porn?
Oh, you busted me. Actually, I made humiliation porn. That's why I watch you on CNN.
No, but when's the last time you? When's the last time you viewed porn?
You're a little creepier even than I realized.
Do you have a problem with porn?
You're dodging the question that I have asked you repeatedly.
Let me ask you a question. Do you believe that people that view porn should watch your show?
I'm not even sure what that question means, but I will say this, sincerely, that I have never attacked Stormy Daniels.
Yes, you have, repeatedly.
I think you are exploiting her, as I've said 5 times, and you haven't answered the question, which is, why is it that her life has stalled, and your life you're planning a new career as a politician, and like so many lawyers, you are taking advantage of her. And you pose as a feminist hero because you are shameless and the other channels let you get away with it. But you're an exploiter of a woman, and you should be ashamed of it.
And you're a,
that is
and
my.
You're, and you're
that
a,
is. The,
no, are you going to let me finish? Let me respond?
We're out of time, and I gave you more time. More time than I promised
you. You don't know what you're talking
about. But it is nice to see you.
But I'm not justifying it.
I would still want to condemn the Russians and protect us.
I'm going to keep you here until you answer this question, which is, how specifically did the Russians make this election outcome different from what it would have been otherwise? How specifically did they, quote, hack our democracy?
We will never know, whether this was determinative any more than Director Comey's involvement in the election. The means they used were hacking into democratic institutions and the leaking of documents designed in the primary process to sow division between the Clinton and Sanders camps, something we saw actually took place as a result of that. And then in the general election to attempt to discredit Secretary of State Clinton in a way that would harm her and would help Donald Trump.
How did they do that?
Well, it was pretty obvious, wasn't it? They hacked, they released documents that were
real.
Oh, yes, they were real, and they were ones that were damaging to Secretary Clinton. Can you point to documents that they disclosed that were damaging to the Republican Party?
Let's just get to the bottom line. You're upset because you think this affected the election. I get why you're upset. But are you arguing that voters, and other reasons too, but are you arguing that voters should not have seen that information?
This is an important point, though. It's not just the fact that it damaged the candidate I was supporting. All Americans, Democrats and Republicans, and particularly, of the party of Reagan, ought to be concerned when we have Russia interfering in our political affairs.
But are you arguing that voters should not have had the right to see that information? If you could take it back, would you say, voters, you're not allowed to see that information?
Well, I would say that we ought to stop Russia from doing this. Now, whether the press should publish the information or not...
Do you think they should?
That is a different question. I think that there are some cases where the public interest is so great they should publish. But I also think, and this was an issue I took with the press during the campaign, that when they do publish information that the Russians have hacked and the Russians want us to see, they ought to inform the public of the provenance of those emails.
But they don't know it, and neither do you.
Oh,
you don't know that. You don't know that
Tucker,
the government. I think it's really irresponsible for you to say you know that the Putin government did this.
You know what is irresponsible, Tucker, for you to make that claim without looking at the evidence, and more importantly,
you can't say that you know the Putin government did that.
More importantly, for the president-elect today. To say that he doesn't know whether the Russians. You're
on the Intel Committee. Let me just ask you one final question. Can you look right into the camera and say, I know for a fact the government of Vladimir Putin was behind the hacks of John Podesta's email?
Absolutely. The government of Vladimir Putin was behind the hacks of our institution and the dumping of information.
Of John Podesta's email.
Not only in the United States, but also in Europe.
Okay, you're not. You know what? You're dodging.
And Tucker,
no, look and say, I know they did. John Podesta's emails. They hacked those.
And I think that Ronald Reagan will be rolling over his grave at your carrying water for the Kremlin.
I'm not carrying water for the. You're a sitting member of Congress on the Intel Committee, and you can't say they hacked.
You're gonna have to move your show to RT Russian television because
you know what?
This
That's
is perfect.
Just so
this is perfectly
beneath your
placed.
office because it's so dumb and you're being duplicitous. I'm asking you, did they hack Podesta's emails? And you can't say it.
Insults like that, Tucker.
You just said I was carrying. You said I was carrying water for Putin. That's pretty hilarious.
You know, when you essentially are an apologist for the Kremlin, that's what you're doing.
I'm an apologist. One last time, Congressman. Look into the camera and say they hacked John Podesta's emails. We know for a fact that Putin's government did that. You can't, and you know you can't, and you're hiding
Tucker,
behind weasel words.
I just said that the
say they hacked John Podesta's emails.
Russians. I'm not going to be specific as.
Oh, because you don't know it. That's why. All right, done. One. You don't know it, and you're alleging it
Tucker,
without any evidence, and it's wrong.
You're ignoring the evidence because you don't care. The fact that it helped the Republican candidate is all you need to know, apparently.
That's totally false. I just think if you're going to make a serious allegation about an actual country with an actual government, you ought to know what you're talking about, and you don't.
I think that you ought to accept.
I got to go. I'm taking cash from Putin now. I'm on RT.
Republicans on the Intelligence Committee have seen for a fact.
If you could say it, you would, and you can't. And you know that.
If you're willing to be in denial about this because it suits a Republican-elect president.
Okay, whatever. You can blather on all you want, man, but I gave you a chance to state it clearly, and you wouldn't, which tells you everything you know.
You,
all right.
Or our president-elect.
Okay.
Not very much, apparently.
I appreciate that, Congressman. And now I need to take a call from Vladimir Putin. But wait a second. Who did the 1% support in this election? Who did every CEO, the entire tech community, all of finance, all of them were against Trump? And by the way, who's in favor of the mass immigration that you claim to support? It's businesses, because they want cheaper labor. They don't want immigrants to come in to make America more diverse. They want them to come in and work for cheap wages. Do you see the connection at all? And why you're abetting that?
Certainly a lot of corporate CEOs and whatnot endorsed Hillary, and this is because Hillary was a Wall Street friendly candidate. But that's actually not true what you're saying. I mean, if you look at Trump's appointments on the past 2 days, he just appointed the CEO of ExxonMobil, one of the most major gas companies in the country and actually the world too. Yep, that he just appointed him as Secretary of State. The CEO of Goldman Sachs is now on his cabinet. So what you're saying isn't totally true.
No, but here's what is true.
No, not really.
He has appointed a bunch of corporate people, for sure. But on the question of immigration, mass low-skilled, low-wage immigration, business is for that. You're for it, too. Why do you think they're for it? Because they want to see a more complicated tapestry? No. Because their labor costs decline when they import low-skilled people who will work for less, whom they can exploit.
Right. And that's why one of the key things that Socialist Students calls for is a $15 an hour minimum wage for all workers, because anybody who works, anybody who contributes to society deserves to have a living wage. So I don't accept this argument that if workers come from another country, that should allow corporations to drive down wages. The reality is that every single person who works, whether you're a student or a working person with a family, that you should have a living wage.
That's fine, and no one disagrees with that, but there is massive unemployment in the middle of the country, massive, and a higher rate for men than during the Great Depression. If you bring in more workers, will there be more or less employment? There will be less employment, more people competing for fewer jobs. This is basic economics. How can you as a socialist be for that?
What we need is jobs programs, and the reality is that appointing a CEO. The reality is that appointing a CEO of Goldman Sachs as our finance advisor, somebody who rejects the concept of the minimum wage.
Look, I'm taking you seriously, and you're just repeating dumb liberal talking points. Be a socialist. Be a radical. Open your mind. I'm serious. You're not a socialist. You're a lifestyle liberal who's upset about the same boring rich people topics. Look at the economics of it. And you know what I mean? You may
I'm looking at the economics. I feel like you're trying to get us distracted. The key message is that young people, you know, the majority of high schoolers couldn't even vote for Donald Trump because they weren't old enough. But Donald Trump's policies of deporting immigrants, making Muslims register, attacking women's rights, these things are going to affect high schoolers.
Those are
and
just
young
talking
people.
Points. You know what? The one thing about socialists is they're kind of interesting. Elon, open your mind. We're out of time, unfortunately. I'm being told we got to stop. But I appreciate your coming on.
We've been invaded in a certain way, and the thing that has been so upsetting to me, and I don't know how old you are, Tucker, but, you know, I can remember when I had to hide under a desk during the Cold War in the 50s because we were worried that we were going to get attacked, you know, by a nuclear bomb. And whenever the country has been attacked in one way or another, whether it was Pearl Harbor or 9/11, we've always come together as a country to defend ourselves against foreign enemies, you know. And this is the first time, because I think we're so divided as a country, and we know we are.
Well, but maybe here's part of the reason. No, but here's maybe part of the reason, because it's so. Perhaps this is. I agree with you. We are very divided, and maybe this is one of the reasons. A lot of this is deeply disingenuous. Anyone who looks at cyber warfare will tell you, any honest person will say, the Chinese military is the primary culprit in the United States. Hacked into the White House not that long ago, into the computer system there, into almost every federal agency. Nobody said anything. You guys in Hollywood sell your movies in China. You bow to the imperatives of their propaganda and censorship office. You change your movies to suit them. And yet no one says we're at war with China. And I wonder why. So you're sucking up to this regime that has actually broken in and stolen industrial and military secrets that hurt this country. You say nothing until Hillary Clinton loses, and all of a sudden we're at war with Russia. Can you see why some of us are saying, well, wait a second, Rob Reiner, where were you with China? Why are you selling your movies over there? Fair question?
I'm not giving China a free pass here.
Oh, of course you are. Well, I mean, you guys in Hollywood sell your movies there, and you allow their censorship office to change your movies in order to make money.
Yeah,
so
well, I don't personally do that because I don't.
Come on, everybody who sells a movie in China does that. You know it. I mean, let's stop. You know what I mean? Kind of BSing a little bit. I mean, that's real, right?
Yeah, but you know, here's the difference. The difference, Tucker, is that you know the Chinese have done some stuff. We've done stuff. We've done stuff way worse too. And every side does it.
So you can't really judge, but we're going to judge Russia because why? Okay, but I'm just saying it just doesn't make sense.
Not letting me make a point here.
Go ahead.
You're not really. You know, we know about Stuxnet. We know the capacity for cyber warfare. It's not just about hacking into computers and stealing information. It's about using that information and weaponizing it in some way. Now, you can weaponize it in propaganda, which it has been done in this way, or it can be actually weaponized in a physical way to disrupt power plants, water supplies, and so on.
Right.
The Russians have done that in the Ukraine. We, like I say, Stuxnet, we did that in Iran. This is not a surprise. The point is, we're now at this point where we have to understand the capacity here so that we can put in place the kinds of measures we need
very quickly
to defend ourselves and protect ourselves.
You didn't. I agree with everything you just said. I let you explain.
I love that you agreed with that.
You didn't answer my question, which is...
What was the question?
The question is, if China is a bigger violator in the United States than Russia, and I think everyone agrees that it is, why are they not in your movie?
Well, but China has not insinuated themselves directly into our democratic process, into our election.
Are you being serious? Of course they have. I mean, they've stolen information directly from the U.S. government, from our political figures, from the Pentagon, from CIA, from the White House. If they're not in our political system, then I don't understand what the definition is.
I didn't say that they weren't in the political system. Of course they are. What I'm saying is, they didn't utilize that material to try to affect an election in some way.
I get it. Okay, so you can see why maybe some of us are a little bit skeptical. Maybe you're not selling as many movies in Russia as you are in China. Anyway, whatever. Good luck with David Frum and Max Boot. Good to see you, Rob. Thank you.
Nice to see you.